It's my home office.
Oh, okay, okay,
My wife moved me from the garage to inside the house,
okay.
but I probably will be evicted soon. Oh wow, I can see us on YouTube now.
Hello,
Yeah.
and welcome to an all new episode of The Spotlight. I am your host, Kente, all the way live from Los Angeles, California, and I am so happy to be here with you on this special day, Friday, our last episode of the year. This is episode number 261, the season finale, not just the season finale for The Spotlight, but for indie radio itself. So I have to go and introduce my lovely co-host, the one and only, all the way live from Hawaii. Hawaii, is that how you say it? Jen.
Hey, how's it going? I can't believe that 2018 is already almost over.
I know.
It feels like this year went by so fast.
It did go by really fast. It's kind of crazy. I just remember celebrating New Year, and then all of a sudden now we're celebrating the New Year again. It's kind of bugging out, but it is what it is. Hey, I guess time only goes slow when you're in prison or when you're a kid. So thank God we're not in prison, and I don't think I want to be a kid again.
No, neither of those things for me either. No.
Remember, like when you were a little kid and something good was gonna happen in like 5 months, and you'd be like, 5 months, you were like tripping out. Now it's like something's gonna happen in 5 months. You're like, oh man, it's not enough time. It's like I need more time.
That is exactly what it feels like.
Yes. So
How many days left until Christmas? How many days left until Christmas?
it is
Really? They're having Christmas this year?
yes,
11.
Oh my
4 days. And I
11
want
days.
before we introduce our wonderful guest tonight, I want to let people know if you are watching live. I see a lot of people are watching live on our YouTube channel. You can participate in the conversation on the top chat section, which is on the right side. Just it says say something. Just type it in, and we will acknowledge you. I see Tony Angelo here as well, and I see a bunch of people listening. Let us know that you're here, and we will give you a shout out. And if you have any questions, we will relay them to our guests. So let's get to our guest. This brother is on the show. He's a returning champ to the show. So happy to have him on once again. It's the one and only Robert Parham. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Yes, man. I'm so happy to chop it up with you. We got so much to talk about. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And also joining us, we have an actor, producer as well, Mr. Jim Meyer. How you doing?
I'm doing great. An honor to be on the show for the first time and the final episode of the year. So I am thrilled.
Yes, we're thrilled to have you. And shout out to Curtis Brooks in the chat room as well. Um, it's so funny. Having just seen the movie Jackson Bolt, which we're going to talk a lot about, and now seeing Jim, Jim he's so evil in the movie, but he seems like such a nice guy in real life. So
Jim is the same person in the movie. Don't let it fool you.
Yeah.
I'm just
I,
kidding.
I'm either acting now or I was acting in the movie. And,
the nice guy is the act, not
if you've done a real estate deal with me or if you married me, you'll know the answer.
So
That sounds ominous.
we're going to talk about Jim's evilness, and and we're going to talk about the film. But just so that for those who may not have remember when you were on the show before, Robert, just kind of give a brief overview of who you are.
Okay, so it was like in May of 2015 I was on your show?
Yes.
2015, 2016? Yeah, okay, wow. I'm just a guy trying to keep gas in my car, really. I'm an actor, producer, writer, stunt choreographer. I'm a student of life, really. I've had a lot of experiences. I've been in the military for 20 years. I've done some sport karate, kickboxing, things of that nature. Yeah, that's me.
All right, man. I'm so glad that you're here, and looking forward to chopping it up with you, man.
All right.
All right, and also joining us this is his first time on the show. Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, like Robert said, he's just trying to keep gas in his car. I've been just trying to siphon gas from his car constantly, and that's how he's always on the side of the road with a can of empty gas. But yeah, I'm just a guy that's pursuing the dreams of becoming rich and famous in Hollywood, and I've been on my way to do that. I've been temporarily selling real estate for 20 years until we get a movie in every single Walmart in the country, and that's my goal.
All right, man. Well, like I said, thanks for coming on and doing the show. And so let me start off with this. We live in a very good time when it comes to being able to create and get our work out there to the public. I remember when I got out of high school in '95, the opportunities weren't what they are now, as far as, you had to have money to produce a film. You had to have quite a bit of money. You had to shoot on film. And as you know, film is non-forgiving. You can't just delete, start over, have to have it processed. And then you did have the independent scene, but now there's opportunities, right? It isn't as expensive to make films. You can learn on the job as well. And it just seems like it's a good time. Now, Robert, who's an actor, stunt coordinator, and all of that good stuff, you also kind of have to be a little crazy to want to produce films. I know, because I'm doing the same thing. So when it was time to make this movie, Bolt, which we're going to talk a lot about, what was the driving force that made you say, you had this script and you just wanted to make this movie?
Well, Jim came to me with the script. So this is a brainchild actually of Jim Meyer, and he said, "Hey, I want to do a movie." Because Jim and I have partnered, done some other films before that we've been associated with the Predatory Lender, being which he just was like, "Great, this looks good. We'll do what we can to make this more of an action film, because that's the genre I would like to represent, the action genre."
Yeah, Robert. Hold on a second, Robert. We're having some technical difficulties. You may want to log out and then come right back in, and then hopefully it'll clear that up. So, because you were kind of jumbled up. So,
okay, I'm gonna do it again.
Okay. So,
so ask Jim the question, and I'll be back.
Okay. So, Jim, let's. I'm gonna flip the question to you. What about the story that got you excited about making the film?
I guess basically it's, as you know, with your experiences, probably most of this is about the people that you work with, especially when you don't have a lot of money. And so, we know a lot of people who have the same dreams, but there are very few people like Robert Parham. So I said to myself, Robert likes action. Let's write something starring him. Let's try to promote him, because it's so much easier to succeed in life when you try to help others instead of always trying to do stuff for yourself, and then you automatically are going to help yourself. So I said to myself, what would Robert love? And I thought, and he likes, he told me about a movie, I think it was called Hard Boiled, and so I said, okay, let's, first of all, we stole some ideas from it, but I had an original concept called Blood Cage, where we thought Robert would be a fighter, which he is in real life, and it would end with a big fight scene in a what do you call it, like a boxing ring, and then be all sorts of different subplots and different characters, but a good classic raw fun action film that anybody in the entire world, even if they don't understand English, should understand and love. And then of course Robert helps bring that to life, and obviously without him there would be no Jackson Bolt.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Now, there's certain aspects of the film I want to get into, but I'm gonna go back to you, Robert. Give an overview of the film of Jackson Bolt for those who may not be aware of it.
Well, basically, it's a story of a detective, a police detective, who is trying to salvage his marriage and trying to clear his name in the murder of his partner. And there's a lot of subplots. There's another subplot that ties in later where we have the pimp turned hitman who works for the evil promoter that kidnaps his wife, and of course the plot with me and my therapist, who was Fred Williamson. So there's a little bit of things for everybody in the film, you know.
I would describe the character Jackson Bolt on the edge. You know, he's on the edge. He's gone through some tough times. So when the film starts out, he's in a down point. And I think you play that very well. What were some of the things that you drew upon to get that performance?
Life experiences. You know, I've gone through some hard times. I've gone through some failed marriages, some broken friendships, et cetera, and so forth. So you rely on things like that. You become an actor becomes an emotional athlete. So you have to tap into your emotions and actually live your performance instead of act, you know.
Well, one thing I liked about the character is he's not superhuman. Like he's not he's not a a machine that never loses or I mean, he's the hero, but he feels more realistic and grounded. And to be honest, he gets his butt kicked a lot.
Yeah. So
you know?
Jim and I came up with the concept that instead of being someone like Bruce Lee that destroys everybody with everything, you know, I have to be more vulnerable. You know, my character had to be more vulnerable. And you'll see sometimes that my character acts on emotion and he does think his way through things, you know, because he's angry on his side. You know, to relate that to real life, when you make bad choices out of anger, you know, you get your butt kicked. You get it kicked physically, you get it kicked emotionally, you get kicked spiritually. So, you know, that you got to think your way through things. And Jackson Bolt sometimes has problems thinking through things.
And kudos to you, because look, you know, you've competed. I'm sure you're a competitive guy. So in your own movie, you know, you don't necessarily, you know, you do some things that a lot of guys that are the lead in the movie wouldn't do because of just pure ego, and it's understandable. So kudos to you for having that, you know.
You know what happens, just as the person who's watching the film, because of that, there are layers, there's depth to the characters that are not there when they're not vulnerable, when they're just sort of the alpha of sort of the character archetype. When you introduce that kind of vulnerability, it really does, it changes the way that you see him. I think that was actually really good. That particular piece was really good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And you know, we should give some credit to our director, Ali De Souza, because I think he pulled the performances out of both of us. And I'm going to guess if either of us were doing this without Ali, we probably would have done it a little bit differently. And he, you know, he liked the whole idea of Jackson Bolt being kind of suicidal, and he liked the fact that my character was as despicable as humanly possible, and I think he brought the sickness out of me.
Well, I'm glad I wasn't around you on set.
Yeah. Well, he made me stay on my meds the whole time.
Now we have to add. Called Ali, and Jim said, "Should we get to direct this?" I called Ali. I called Ali about 5 or 6 times to get him to accept this assignment, because Ali does drama and stories about human emotion and things of that nature. He kind of stays away from the violence and horror and this, that, and the other. So I was thankful that he accepted, you know, after 5 phone calls and some nudging. So, and I think he did a great job.
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. Now let's talk about your character, Jim. And I'm scared to find out how you drew to get to your character. Great character, very, very interesting character as well. Talk about what was it like playing that character, and please tell me that character didn't go home with you at night.
I was just gonna say, I hope that this wasn't method acting.
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. I had to go through a lot of couples therapy afterwards. But I think you know how in Hollywood they always talk about typecasting. I kind of typecast myself because I had done a show called I Almost Got Away with It. I don't know if you've ever seen that show on the Discovery ID channel, where they had me play a guy that's teaching somebody how to make meth. And I just ad-libbed it, and people seem to like it. And you know, my neighbor watched it on TV, and he came yelling at me, saying, "Come on in, watch yourself, watch it." And he just loved how creepy I was. And then we made this movie called Predatory Lender, where I was a real estate agent and a loan agent, and I was a killer. And then I think people were enthusiastic when this guy who's like really despicable towards women, something terrible happens to him. So I just copied myself, and I said, "Wow, it worked here. I'm gonna even take it to the next level and make it even worse than I ever had." So basically, I'm just I found a niche, and the niche is a despicable human being that probably has no right to walk this earth.
What a great idea, Predatory Lender. Now I want to see that movie because it's actually perfect. You know, in a lot of ways. So I got to definitely check that one out.
Well, it's on what is it? Amazon and Vimeo and iTunes. Yeah, you can download it and watch it tonight and interview me tomorrow.
Are you ever afraid that you'll get like typecast into a certain role? I only ask that because I noticed that actors that play bad guys tend to continue to play bad guys, and I don't know whether that's on purpose or whether they've just kind of found a niche or whether they just get typecast.
I think very few people don't get typecast because Hollywood is lazy, and they want to use people who've proven to be successful as a certain character, and I would much rather be typecast than not cast. So we're very fortunate to do whatever we can, and I will never complain about being typecast.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So the film, you know, it has heart to it. There's drama, but of course it's an action film, and there's fighting in it as well. And I want to talk about just filming the action scenes, especially the fighting scenes, and what kind of toll did it take on you, and what was that whole experience like, Robert?
Oh my God. So we did the hospital scene. And we shot all of the non-action stuff first. What did that take us, Jim? 4 hours?
Probably, yeah. And Robert is a taskmaster, even though Ali directs. Robert, really cracks the whip and says, "Okay, that's enough. Let's get to the next scene." And that's how we get things done.
So yeah. So we got the fight scene in the hospital. I think it took us about 5 hours to shoot. And
Wow.
if you notice, I have a suit on. My suit was drenched. I was literally, physically, and mentally, spiritually exhausted. There was nothing more I can give that day. So when you shoot scenes that, it just takes a lot out of you. Some of the other scenes, like the scenes at the end, weren't too bad, but that was more, I didn't have to do that all by myself. That was a collaboration between China McCoy and Marcus Taylor and myself and Jason Sterling. So we all had them there to help, but most of the other fight scenes weren't as bad. The one where Fred is in, actually my son choreographed that fight scene.
Oh, nice. I know you were proud.
Yeah, so it came out all right. So a lot of the things, a lot of the techniques that I've learned on screen, I learned from Jim Kelly and Art Camacho,
Right.
two of my mentors and idols, I guess, if you would. So,
You know what was nice about the fight scenes? There were a lot of really interesting tempo pieces in there where the timing felt really organic. And that, I know we talked prior to the podcast, but it really felt like there was some good stuff in editing. It felt very tight, but it also felt like where it needed to be protracted, it really was. So hats off. That I know that cannot be easy.
Thank you. I learned that a scene, especially a fight scene has got to tell a story itself. It's almost got to be like a dance. So in a fight scene, you have 3 acts, just like a movie, you have 3 acts. You have your introduction to the character, you have the character's downfall, and you have the character's victory, or in this case, not so much victory all the time. But you have to break the fight scene into those 3 levels and adjust your techniques accordingly. A lot of the stuff that you see in action movies today, people are flying in the air and they're punching, people 36 times and, they get right back up. And that's not real to me. It's not real to me. So that's something that you would never see me in a fight scene do if I had, if I'm in control of the choreography, because it's just not real. I have to stick with what's real.
Well, that's really interesting.
Robert is that he's doing the choreography and he's thinking like an editor because he edits. So you've got the editor telling everybody what to do with these fights. So and we've seen it where people don't think it through that well, and then you see the footage, you say, hey, what can we do with this footage? It's a big mess. And so Robert makes it look extremely easy, and he puts a ton of time and effort into this. So even though anybody can go out and get this equipment, do the same stuff, what the result is not always the same. So, I mean, poor Robert probably has like 3 different brains in that head of his. And
so big.
Yeah, exactly. It is huge. And so he's always thinking, and and when he's on set, he's motivating these actors who are punching him and kicking him and all that. He's got to be like the coach, motivating them to get angry at him, and so he has to start swearing at them and slapping them in the face and all that, and he gets them to hate him so that they lash out at him. And it's just, if you guys can ever join us next time we shoot something, it's a lot of fun, and you'll enjoy it.
Oh yeah, that sounds like it'd be a whole lot of fun. Now,
yeah, everything except I think I'll stand off to the sidelines and just kind of watch, because I don't know about that whole swearing and punching thing.
Some people like getting slapped in the face. Some people pay for that.
Now for
that's a different show.
For the ladies out there who's probably saying, I'm not a big action martial arts guy, a bunch of guys fighting and being all guy like. I want the ladies to know, and the fellas too, who may have not seen the film yet, is there's a lot of women in this movie, and there's women kicking ass. And unfortunately for Robert, sometimes they're kicking his ass.
Has any male action hero been beat up by more women than Robert?
Never. But it's cool though. It's cool. Like the way that it's shown, it's not like silly. You know what I mean? It's fun. So what was that like shooting those scenes with those ladies?
It was great. So I have to give a big shout out to Gina Days and Tabitha Ward. Tabitha is the one who, Gina, the ones that kicked my in the restaurant bar. Tabitha, who is an actress who has never probably thrown a punch in her life. We really had to work with her, and get her focused, and she did a phenomenal job.
Wow.
Phenomenal. Gina did a phenomenal job. We also have Jim brought in P. Bolton, who is a two-time Olympic gold medalist, and she's in the WNBA Hall of Fame. So Jim brought her in, and she gets to kick my butt too, you know. And being that she's already athletic, you know, and she was phenomenal. She was phenomenal as well. So
you never would have guessed that about Tabitha. She was really good.
She was great.
Tabitha is like one of the sweetest, kindest people you'll ever meet, and she wanted nothing but to be to please us on the set by doing a really good job, and she just has this great personality, and you know how some people could be kind of innocent. I don't want to say naive or whatever, but the first time working with a big crew like that, and then they don't know what they're doing, but she knew what she was doing. She took instructions, and she, you know, when something needed to be done that nobody was doing, she said, okay, I'm going to do it. And she didn't care. You know, we never heard, okay, that's not my union. And basically it was unbelievable. And now she's doing like live stage plays.
Right.
Just incredible. I mean, now we should talk about everybody, but since we're talking about Tabitha, I would say that if somebody wants to use her work with her in a movie, they cannot go wrong. That's all I got to say about her.
Yeah, and you know I ain't messing with none of them ladies though. They really told it, man. I was like, man, and Robert's getting handed to him in some of those. It was a lot of fun, man. I really enjoyed it, and then you had a lot of wonderful fight scenes with different actors all through the film, and also a lot of gunplay too. So how was that shooting it? Because very early on you had a lot of gunplay and throughout the film. How was it like filming those scenes?
Well, they were okay. I mean, as a kid, you always envision yourself as the hero, and you save the day, and you shoot up all the bad guys. So I had that opportunity and tried to make the best of it. A lot of actually all of the, we had no live ammo on the set, and of course no real guns, and all of that stuff was done in post-production. Jim supplied a lot of the, Jim has his arsenal of weapons. I have my arsenal of weapons that we use in other films, et cetera, and so forth. So we just came together, and I think we made a pretty good, some good gunplay. I think we can step it up a notch in the next one, because I've learned some new things. Jim has learned some new things. I think we'll step it up a notch in the next one.
I would expect Jim's arsenal of weapons to be like machetes and.
I've got a lot of blood on my hands, and but I'm very careful where I bury the bodies. So nothing I could say here is going to implicate me, and all I can say is 13 arrests, no convictions.
I love it. So how long did it take to shoot the film?
Robert, what was it, 17 days, something like that? Is he gone? It was a short number of days, 14, 17 days. I think Robert needs to move his car.
Yeah, no, yeah, you probably need to come back in one more time. I don't know, was this, why? Yeah, so 17 days shoot.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and then so Robert spent a lot more time editing it than we spent shooting it, because we had a pretty tight schedule. Like the hospital scenes, we got that hospital for one day. A lot of times when we use a location, nobody wants us back. So our friend Allison Bolton got us basically it's a place where they teach people how to work in the hospital. So it's a fake hospital. Hopefully it looked like a real hospital. And so when Robert told me that one of his favorite movies was Hard Boiled, there was a big scene. What was it, a half-hour shoot-up scene in a hospital?
Yeah, about that. About that.
So we pretty much stole that idea as we send Jackson Bolt to the hospital, and then we send a bunch of bad guys out to kill him, and it worked, and people seem to love it.
Yeah. Well, we won't say steal, we'll say homage.
Yeah, as a
homage, right?
To what is that guy's name? John Woo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he's not the guy that sold the real estate, right? No, that's John.
Oh man. So now one of the great pleasures in this film is that, and you mentioned it, that you got the chance to work with Fred the Hammer Williamson. What was that like?
Oh man, Fred is a riot. So he taught us so much. I picked Fred up from the airport. I actually had to leave that night, and I came back. Oh, what happened? I have a brain tumor. And then on set, I'm driving Fred to set, and we get to the set, and he says, "Watch this." And he gets out the car, and he's barking orders. You know, "I'm here, I'm ready to work. How come you're not ready? How come you're not doing this?" And everybody's like, really stand back, and he looks at me and winks, you know. And until our cinematographer, Vert Wright, I think, said something back to him, that he finally broke his character and laughed, you know. And then we had fun. I mean, I was in on a joke, but it is a fabulous guy. He's got stories that I dare never tell anyone. We just had a great time. We had a great time.
That's cool. I had the pleasure of meeting him at a convention a couple years ago, and I really enjoyed that. Cool.
And it takes a minute to get his sense of humor, doesn't it?
It does.
Robert was out of town or had to go somewhere, and I went and escorted Fred to the hotel. And you know, when you check into a hotel, you'll show them your driver's license. And Robert had paid for the hotel room, so you know, we had to show Robert's driver's license. So we had to go get Robert to take a picture of his driver's license and fax it into the hotel. And I'm sitting there with Fred, and again, not really knowing him very well. And he's all, "Black men don't know anything about business." Well, how do you respond to that? And then we're filming. He's all, "Black men don't wear makeup. Black men don't hug." And so, and then of course, you know, finally he says to Vert, "Yeah, you really know your stuff, man." But other than that, he was busting our chops like crazy. So hilarious guy. And then he gets into political discussions with people who think that he's going to think a certain way, and he's completely the opposite. And he's a great guy. Lots of fun.
That's cool, man. All right, so what's next? Will we have a sequel to Jackson Bolt? Are you guys gonna do something different? What can we expect?
Well, right now we're shooting a movie called Soul Cage. That's going to feature local martial artist Kirby Delaney. And she's great. She is awesome. She's awesome. And we're talking about a sequel to Jackson Bolt. Jim and I have been in discussions. Fred is calling me, "Hey, let's get a script together. Let's get something together. You know, here's some ideas." You know, so he's anxious to do the sequel too. And you know, since the movie has come out, a lot of people have recognized our work in the action arena, I would say. Guys like Bobby Samuel. Bobby Samuel was from Hong Kong, grew up in the Hong Kong Stunt Association, if you would, and, you know, worked with Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung and things like that. He wants to be, you know, part of it. Marcus Taylor wants to come back. Just a lot of people. Gloria Hendry, if you remember her from Black, who happens to be a cousin, she wants to be. So we're getting a lot of support for the sequel. A lot of support.
Well, that's great, man. I'm very happy.
I'm have subtitles for Robert after you edit after we shut this.
Right. You know, no, I'm excited about what you guys have going on and looking forward to it. So now, how can people get their hands on Jackson Bolt?
Well, they can go to Walmart, their local Walmart, and get Jackson Bolt for $9.96 in tax. You can get it from Amazon and stream it on Amazon. And right now, actually, our distribution company just put it on YouTube. Oh, it's also on Tubi TV. But yeah, our distribution company, Maverick Entertainment, just put it on YouTube.
But the best thing is probably to go to Amazon or go to Walmart and buy a copy of it. And then next time somebody buys it and they see Robert or myself, I mean, nobody wants my autograph, but when they see Robert or they go to a convention or something and see Fred, I'm sure he'll autograph it for a small sum.
A small negotiable fee.
Exactly.
I love it, man. I love it. I'm going to start off with you, Jim. How can people get you in social media and such?
Well, nobody ever really gets me, but if you go to Facebook, I'm James Eric Meyer on Facebook. YouTube, I don't know who I am on YouTube. I guess I could click on this thing and see what I am. But I'm sure if you just do a Google search for YouTube, Jim Meyer. But then on Twitter, I'm Artist Jim on Twitter.
Artist Jim, okay.
Yeah.
And Robert, how can we get you in social media?
On Facebook, I'm Robert.Parham. On Twitter, I'm Kickboxing5, KICKBXN5. On Instagram, I'm the real Robert Parham.
All right.
Oh, on Instagram, I'm the fake Jim Meyer.
I love it. What about you, Jen? How can people get you and your websites and all that?
They can find me on Twitter at followingbliss1, and my website, Movies Make the Meal. Actually, we're in sort of the last bit of a countdown to Christmas. So all Christmas recipes, all fun Christmas movies, lots of horror tie-ins. It's been a fun month. So moviesmakethemeal.com, and my review site is criticallaughswith2Ls.com.
Now, as I said, this is the last episode that we're doing of the year of any kind on indieradio.org, but we will be back on January the 19th, 2019, and we are doing a special 24-hour podcast to kick off the new year. So it's not going to be 24 hours of Kente. So I don't want
Isn't that what killed Prince? Wasn't he doing a podcast? Yeah, you gotta be careful.
But you'll have a lot of me during that. And we're gonna have a bunch of other podcasters come and do their shows, and it's gonna be like this big kickoff to 2019. And we're gonna have giveaways and stuff. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna purchase a copy of Jackson Bolt, and we'll do that as one of the giveaways on the 24-hour podcast. So
awesome.
Yeah, so and what we'll try to do is if you're in LA, maybe I'm going to Chicago. If somehow our paths cross, I'll try to get you to sign it. So there'll be a signed copy. We'll do it as on that. But you'll be getting more and more information about the 24-hour podcast. You can get me at Kente F on Twitter or on Instagram. My full name, Kente Ferguson. That's KinteFergerson. And then also you can go to our website, which is indieradio.org. That's INDYradio.org. You guys have a great Christmas and New Year's Eve, and we'll be back in 2019. God bless you, and good night.
Thank you.
Good night.